Adrian Baschuk is the COO of Ethernity, a new and innovative NFT platform. He previously worked as a journalist in war and disaster zones. He was there to observe how cryptocurrencies actually saved those types of regions by providing actually functional payments that actually work. This inspired him to work in the crypto and NFT space because he could really see how it makes a difference and how this is the future. This time I tried something new. I took my friend Mike Haga, who is Europe's biggest NFT expert, and let him join our conversation. If you enjoyed, remember to hit like and subscribe. So what do you do at Ethernity?
So I'm the CCO and part of the founding team. We are a big NFT platform and marketplace, and we do NFT collections, metaverse experiences, as well as physical goods and real world experiences with notable figures, rights, licenses, IPs, everyone from Messi to Muhammad Ali, the US Space Force to the AP car companies and more.
Well, US Space Force? Can you explain what that means?
We did a collection of NFTs with the United States Space Force. We like to say we're the first government-approved NFT company. And we did 8 NFTs representing one of their big satellite launches with the Neil Armstrong collection. And we did eight NFTs with augmented reality. And you could see a rocket, a satellite, and a spacesuit with your friends in your in your area, etc.
Can you split the parts up again? Notable rights, IP, license, perhaps with a little bit of an example for every one of them.
Yeah. So we're not like CryptoPunks or Bored Ape Yacht Club, for example. We'll partner with notable figures like Lionel Messi, for example. Rights like
you're going to do a Messi NFT?
Yeah. So we did a big Messi collection, for example.
10,000 Messi PFPs or
No,
what did it look like?
Yeah. So we did high-end digital art collectibles. So we did 4 NFTs with him, with the artist Boss Logic, a 1 of 1, a 10 of 10, a 100 of 100, and then like 5,000 at a lower price point, for example.
And are those pictures of Messi, or what? Do they have a utility, or how can I imagine that?
So this was early on. We like to say that we were pretty early to the game with NFTs. I've long been in crypto, over 5 years now. And our team came together through the pandemic. We always knew we wanted to do something with NFTs, and that was finally the perfect building time. And we started doing high-end digital art NFT collectibles. That was 2020 into 2021. We had our IDO and our token launch in March of 2021. And now there's much bigger layers to the NFT game. So we have, metaverse wearables, and we have real world experiences and ticketing. So what NFTs were in 2020 and 2021 is a very different time now.
Excuse me. What's the difference between 2020 and 2021 or in 2022, except for the price of the NFTs?
So much. So utility, community, and reach amplification. So if you look at technology, technology and its speed doubles at a rate of every 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Compound that times 10 in crypto and blockchain. So the blockchains we had around in 2016, it changed immensely in 2017 with the ICO boom, changed again in, post Bitcoin halving of 2020. That's the same, scale of NFTs. So 2017, you had CryptoKitties, CryptoPunks. 2018, 2019, it was that development kind of phase through the bear market. 2020, you saw the rise of digital collectibles and then the PFP projects. 2022 and beyond, you see utility across metaverse, gaming, and community.
I see. And what is like your innovation with Ethernity in that sense?
So we targeted those communities based around notable figures, rights, licenses, IPs. So we'll partner with huge soccer players, huge teams, leagues, brands, car companies, bring their whole mass audience and retail audience into those communities via NFTs, being art, collectibles, metaverse wearables, gaming eventually, and combine them across collections.
Okay, so how did you come up with that? That's quite, I just imagine it's quite hard to text Messi and say, "Hey, you want to be on my NFT?" So how did that
Right.
happen?
So, bringing us back to our origination, half our team were crypto natives and had been working in the crypto and blockchain industry. And our main visionary, Nick Rose, for example, was a very early Bitcoin OG from 2011. Our technical co-founder, Marcelo, was a Facebook and Google security engineer. I myself was at the CNBC Africa Crypto Trader show, so covering all the projects and cryptos and blockchains around the world, from Silicon Valley to Singapore, Hong Kong to Berlin, Miami to Malta. So knew everyone in the industry, and we started a token and the NFT platform. So we have a utility token for buying and selling our NFTs and for use on our platform on the DeFi angle as well. And then we wanted to bring in those communities around rights, licenses, IPs, not starting with original, PFP projects, for example, an original IP that's hard to get to scale immediately, but rather bringing in major audiences around these notable figures, rights, licenses, and IPs.
Okay, so if I understand that correctly, so if I'm an end consumer and I buy a Messi NFT, what kind of rights, licenses, and IPs am I buying actually?
So on our first collection, which was very early on, was high-end digital art and collectibles. Okay, so we partnered with the artist Boss Logic, and he did 4 pieces, widely acclaimed. On a second and subsequent collection, which we can't talk about too much, that's a totally different story. Again, 2022 is a very different year than 2020 and 2021 in terms of what NFTs were, can become, and what will be.
These NFTs have been Ethereum NFTs on the Ethereum blockchain? Yeah,
we started and we were built on Ethereum and then Polygon integration for L2. Moving forward, we have an exclusive partnership with Layer 0, and we're going to be cross-chain and interoperable. So users will be able to choose what chain to mint to. We have partnerships with Palm Network for another vertical we're building. We believe in a multi-chain universe and future, not a single chain one.
Is it going to be possible to take my NFTs, for example, connect my MetaMask and sell them on your marketplace too? Or can I only buy and sell the NFTs you're releasing there?
For right now, we have them limited to our NFTs because they're scarce and rare. We're not doing 57 launches a day like some big marketplaces. There's like the Amazon, Target, and Walmarts of the NFT space, of huge marketplaces. We're like an Apple boutique, and we're selling our wares first. Down the line, there's definitely big room for expansion. But we have exclusive collections on OpenSea, on LooksRare, a couple other big collections coming at a couple big marketplaces in the future yet to be revealed.
So I can buy an NFT on your marketplace and sell it on LooksRare or OpenSea?
Yeah.
Okay, because like any other NFT.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
So if I buy a Messi picture from the first collection, I have the right on that picture to use it for commercials or...
Well, yeah, and then you're able to sell and resell it. Remember, resales, that's the true underlying value of the blockchain and NFTs, is that you can track the provenance and authenticity of that NFT, and you can resell it for life and get resale percentages.
Okay, so here's the thing. I own a company, Digistore24. So if I buy that NFT, can I then, just like with the Bored Apes, can I then use the picture of Messi and like associate the brand Messi with my company, Digistore24? Or
not on the first collection, but again, there's subsequent things coming down the line in the future that will herald some interesting stuff.
So in the future, Messi will come to my podcast and advertise my company as well? Or?
Definitely no promises on any of that. But
yeah, but what's interesting for me is the rights aspect. Like, what kind of right am I actually getting? Because, this is a word that's kind of blurry for me. I would like to understand, like, okay, if I buy this, what kind of right do I actually have? Other than like...
I'm saying that we launch NFTs with rights holders, for example. Mm-hmm. So we worked with the estates of Muhammad Ali and Marilyn Monroe with those rights holders and launched NFT collections with them.
Okay, so But if I buy that NFT, what can I actually do with it? Like, okay, I can say this is mine and I can resell it. So it's that speculation. Is there anything?
Some you can, some you can't. Every collection is different, which makes our platform. Every collection is its own new world and universe, and we partner with different artists and launch various different collections. There's no like one single collection that it's repeatable across everyone. Everyone is different.
So you're also varying the rights aspect like differently with every collection.
Yeah, for example, when we did the U.S. Space Force collection, we had augmented reality of the rocket that was launching the satellite in space, the spacesuit that you could put on as a filter. Those were the rights associated with that. With Shaq, we did a collection with Shaquille O'Neal, and one of the rights, it was the rights to attend the Shaq Funhouse. And then one winner of the one of one won dinner with Shaq. Others won signed jerseys and signed balls, because we also include physical goods and real world experiences.
What I'd be interested in, why did you choose to build your own platform? Because you could do everything you said with notable figures, with rights, with IP. You could do that without founding a platform. You could just do a minting page, mint, or a sales page, sell it, and then let it sell and resell on LooksRare or OpenSea or wherever. Why did you choose to do it that way?
Number one is that we wanted a tokenized platform, and we truly believe in the tokenized economy that crypto brings. So we didn't want to just launch NFTs for the sake of launching NFTs simply as art or as non-fungible tokens, obviously, with proving authenticity on the blockchain, but also have an underlying tokenized economy, which creates a circular economy, and everyone can share in that circular economy, especially providing LP liquidity. You can stake on our platform and earn rewards to then also get access to events to purchase NFTs and physical goods and experiences with them. So there's a much more layered approach and a long-term approach, because what NFTs are, again, in 2022 is going to be very different in 2023 and 2024 and beyond. And we can be very nimble and quick and change with those different years and epochs, I should say, in NFTs.
From the buyer's point of view, what would you tell someone? What is the advantage for him to buy the NFT with you instead of buying or minting an NFT somewhere on a minting page or buying it on OpenSea? What would you say is the advantage that you have your own token, that it's a utility token, that you buy the NFT with the token? So I have to buy the token to buy the NFT. What's the advantage for the customer?
Collections are split. You can also use Ethereum, and you can use on Polygon when we're on Polygon chain. So again, we believe in a multi-chain verse and a multi-token economy. Absolutely. We just listed on Coinbase and Crypto.com. We're previously already available on Binance, Huobi, OKX, KuCoin, Gate.io, QuickSwap, Uniswap, of course, where we did our IDO. So you're participating in these tokenized economies. So it's not just the NFTs and the art, but it's more than that. And the DeFi aspect is huge. You can you can provide LP liquidity, and you can stake and buy and sell the token. So it's not just NFTs.
So please tell our audience a little bit about what DeFi actually means and what it is and what staking means, because most people don't actually know that.
Yeah. Yet. I like to give the analogy that if Bitcoin disrupted money early on, then Ethereum and the L1 blockchains are disrupting software, then NFTs are here to disrupt content overall. It started with art and 2D mimetic JPEGs, then high-end digital art collectibles, now, gaming and metaverse integration. And then soon you're going to see a lot of TV, film, video, and series work that's happening with NFTs. That's happening right here and now. We were just at NFT LA, and a lot of that is happening. On the DeFi front, that's like a go-between from money and software. And you'd have to look at a big analogy of how the money supply and money system works. Do you want me to really draw up my explanation?
Of course, yeah.
So this is how I describe DeFi. If that was the overall industry, now look at different products. So again, if Bitcoin was digital gold, right? Then Ethereum came along and said, well, let's take this digital gold that was built on a blockchain, is an open ledger. That was the tech stack, but it could only perform, a transaction every 5 minutes or whatnot, or 5 transactions a second, whatever the case may be. Ethereum came along and said, all right, let's take your blockchain and build it times 10. So we're going to have, X amount of transactions a second. And instead of 5 to 15 minutes, a transaction will go through between 15 seconds and 3 minutes, depending on the network activity, right? And then a bunch of other blockchains came along and said, okay, well, that's a great model. We're going to build other blockchains like Cardano and Ripple. And then in the 2017 ICO boom, a bunch came along like Avalanche and EOS and Phantom and Cosmos that you see getting a lot of attention now. And they said, we're going to build blockchains even faster.
Yeah.
And in that time, in that bear market, when all those were building out, Ethereum and the developers, which is the most heavily networked network of developers in the world, and the smartest, best minds that I've seen for sure, and the biggest network effect, while those other blockchains were building post ICO boom, they came along and said, well, we're going to build different products on top of Ethereum. And that's when DeFi was built. And they were building in 2018, 2019. DeFi summer happened in 2020, and they built decentralized finance, right? That was the first big mass use case on top of Ethereum, other than different protocols using the Ethereum blockchain. And then NFTs came along and said, okay, we're going to build NFTs on top of Ethereum too. And later on, what's happened this last year is that the different blockchains have then built their own DeFi applications and their own NFT applications. That's that whole explanation of where we're at. Now, DeFi, I can explain it in a very simple analogy as the money supply, right? Right now, the money supply in finance, the world of finance, when you hear finance, it's centralized and it's a top-down approach, okay? Let's just take the US. I can't speak to Europe and I can't speak to Latin America, Asia, or Africa in terms of how some governing systems of money supply works. But in the US, which is the gold standard, let's say, the Fed sets a rate and they team up with the executive office and they set an agenda, right? And they say, okay, this is our fiscal agenda. This is what's going to happen over the course of the next 4 years. The Fed gets the rate and the policies, sends it down to the Treasury. And they say, we're printing this amount of money in the budget and we're going to deploy this amount of cash. And the Treasury then prints the checks and sends the money where? To the banks, the federal coffers, state offices, and local governments, right? So it's a mix of private and public.
Yeah.
The federal government, the state governments, local governments, they deploy all the finances to fire and FEMA and waterworks and all sorts of different departments. And then the banks take that liquidity and put it down to the consumers in the advent of products, financial services and products, bonds, loans, home loans, car loans, school loans, derivatives, options, money market accounts, etc. And then the consumer is on the bottom and gets that money, but they're paying interest and then they're getting maybe some grants. 2020 was the first time in history that the U.S. had given away so much capital directly to consumers. So the first time it went from the top directly. And DeFi flips the model and is a pool of liquidity, right? So all that money that trickles down in Reagan years, trickle down economics, right? It trickled down to the consumer in the last step. And we got some money, but then we're paying interest on it. DeFi flips the model. And you're participating in a network, let's say Ethereum network. You can hold Ethereum and you power the network by holding it, and you're providing the liquidity directly, which can then be parceled out in different products like loans, borrowing and lending. There's some options, there's some derivatives, there's NFTs, there's more. And you, for providing your Ethereum and let's say USDC or otherwise, you're providing liquidity, so you're getting the fees directly. You're getting the interest. So it's a bottom-up approach versus a top-down approach. You're providing the liquidity to the network. You're getting the fees. That's the overall explanation. I know it's a lot, but there you go.
Or you don't provide liquidity and you take out money. I mean, that's for me, it's always like DeFi, centralized finances. There is a bank. The bank has financial services. borrowing, lending, loan, all of that. DeFi is just the same, but only it's decentralized. It's a protocol. It's fully automatic on the blockchain. And they do nearly, and soon we'll be doing all the same services like centralized finance, decentralized finance. And now you can have people adding liquidity and getting something for it, like rewards. But you can also have people that have, for example, Ether, and they need cash. So they put in Ether, they get a loan, they pay interest for that, and they get out the cash through a stable coin. And for me, it's just like centralized finance is a financial service, and decentralized finance is the same services on the blockchain.
Absolutely.
Very, very shortly explained.
100%.
Thank you, guys. So how much can I make if I would provide liquidity to year end, like annually?
It depends which network. So are you on Uniswap or are you on Binance? For example, we had pools on Binance that were anywhere from like
7,000%.
No. That is only if you're early day one in some of the decentralized stuff. And that as the token goes up, the price comes down and you want to get out there. You don't want to hold forever because it goes down. But we had pools on Binance that were different lockup periods. So, and those filled up very quickly. So they're no longer available for the next 6 months, but it was anywhere between 18 and 80%. On our liquidity pool in Uniswap, there's an average of 6 to 18% or otherwise.
So if you wanted to provide Cake and BNB, today I looked it up, it's 36.8% when you provide the liquidity. Cake, token, and BNB.
I see. So, and there's also staking. What does that actually mean?
So staking is that, you're upholding a network and you are, for example, you can stake on our site and you can earn rewards, but you can also get what are called stones. It's kind of like credit card points. And on our site, if you're staking, you get stones and you can redeem them for NFTs, for physical goods, and for real world experiences.
So stones are not the same as ERN.
Right. It's like credit card points.
Okay. They're another thing. And so stones are my reward for staking.
Yeah.
And
on our site. Yeah.
And is there like, can I buy stones or is that?
No.
Okay.
Through our app, which is coming out very soon, that's something else. But staking in general is just what it sounds like, just in DeFi terms, is you're upholding the network. And so you're not trading in and out of it. You're not selling it. You're upholding it and you get smaller returns. You're not injecting liquidity. You're just upholding it.
For me, the question when I think about staking, and I also do a lot of staking, was always there is one kind of staking where like Ethereum staking. As soon as we move to proof of stake, I can completely see the sense in putting in the 32 ETH because I run a node then and I do verify blocks and I get rewards for that. This is a real use case. With many tokens, I feel like, and perhaps you can tell me something about it. You stake in the token just so that you cannot sell it, so that the price won't go down. This is what people often say. Or it makes the impression that, DeFi is a big Ponzi because as long as everybody just puts in money and never takes out money. So these are the two kinds of staking. The one totally makes sense for me and I get the rewards. I understand why I get the rewards. But the other staking is sometimes I think, isn't it like really a Ponzi when all those people that are against DeFi say, I don't do DeFi because this is a Ponzi, because you have to stake the money, you have to leave it in so just that nobody can sell and the prices go up.
With everything, it's like that. Like, look at Bitcoin. If everyone sold Bitcoin at the very same point in time, it will go to zero. If everyone would sell real estate, like the most real thing, at the same point in time, it would go to zero. Sure. And with DeFi, like I'm defending it a little bit.
Me too,
like
totally.
They have like the staking thing, so you're being rewarded for not selling. If there's like a spirit of not selling it and holding it, and you get rewarded for that, so it's not likely to happen. So.
But does it make sense that I have the impression that one kind of staking really runs the network, like ETH 2.0, and the other kind of staking is like, let's keep the price stable so that the price is stable or go up?
That, yes, but that's also why at Ethernity, for example, our staking program is dual. Yes, we have some of that with limited rewards, but we have another staking program that, again, rewards you in stones, which is our on-site sort of redemption value that you can redeem NFTs, physical goods, and experiences for, because we believe that, yeah, it shouldn't just be a Ponzi, number one. Number two, that real, yield farming and liquidity providing is the real underlying value, where you're upholding networks and you're creating value there. So yeah, I half and half agree with you on that, and that's why we offer two options of staking with Ethernity.
Where does the money for the stone come from? That's a big question. I always get, when I teach DeFi to people, they say, yeah, but where do the rewards come from? Somebody has to pay for that.
So when we offer a collection, for example, we'll set aside 5%. It differs by collection, but we'll set aside a few NFTs or physical goods or real world experiences for stone holders. So then there's underlying value where you're redeeming it for.
Get it.
Yeah.
That's very exciting. So how did you get into all this? You have been a journalist in war zones. Can you tell a little bit about how that was like?
Yeah, I sometimes stray from the word journalist. It's very polarizing these days.
Yeah,
I was a correspondent and a producer.
Yeah. Okay.
I started in Miami. I'm from Miami, and then I was at CNN. Then helped start Current TV. Then was part of Fusion, and then worked with MSNBC and then CNBC. Did the crypto show. So I was covering war zones and disaster areas for a long time, and I would always be on the ground in places like Iraq, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, Syria, Lebanon, the Arab Spring. I was in Kenya for ethnic conflicts. I was in South Thailand with a conflict between Malaysia and Thailand. Snuck into North Korea. I mean, the craziest places on earth. And I was always frustrated in just reporting on things because I'm solutions oriented. And I would always try and find the angle of, hey, where's recovery happening? Where's disaster relief happening? I covered earthquakes in Nepal, storms in Pakistan, flooding in South Florida, things in Haiti. I mean, you name it. I was in South America and Venezuela and seeing what was happening with the crisis there, et cetera. And I was always looking for solutions. And a lot of times technology would be a solution. So I was in Africa covering in Kenya and East Africa and Tanzania and Ethiopia, doing a doc series there, and saw M-Pesa starting. So M-Pesa was this alternative mobile payment platform, and Bitcoin and M-Pesa were kind of coming up at the same time in many ways. And I saw that as a great empowerment solution. So I started really diving into Bitcoin from 2014 to 2017. 2017 got fully immersed and involved, and then started the CNBC Africa Crypto Trader Show with Ran, and we went around the world covering crypto and blockchain being built in developing places, in finance centers, and everywhere in between. And that I saw as finally a real deal solution. I didn't want to just cover problems. And then when the pandemic hit, Nick and Marcelo and team started Ethernity and asked me to kind of come in and help on the crypto side of things and bring in community, because I saw it again as another disruption layer to the content industry, because I would try and create series and produce things and sell to the networks, the channels, the brands. And it was always a bottom up selling process as a producer. And I saw NFTs as like disintermediating that, just like Bitcoin disrupted money.
That's one very interesting thing, that every time we talk about all that, we talk about crypto, we talk about NFTs, we talk about that from a very first world perspective. But what most people forget, that this is also banking the unbanked, because there is far beyond 1 billion, I think it's even over than 2 billion people that do not have access to a bank account. But they can easily download a MetaMask and do banking with that and do DeFi. That's what we often forget, because we're so into crypto, NFT, and all our first world stuff. But this is 100%. Really a use case.
Yeah, and on top of that, we're living in kind of like, it feels like a little bit like the beginning of a hyperinflation. So even of the quote first world, it seems like a legitimate, alternative that you have to seek. Like in Europe, for example, you pay penalties for having the bank, your money in your bank.
Yeah.
Like you pay penalties, and the penalty is like, I don't know, minus 0.7% or something like that, and that can add up if you have a lot of money. So you need alternatives even in the quote first world. So
I think alternatives is key. I'm not a maximalist in any way, shape, or form. I don't believe in burning the ships, and I don't think in terms of money supply and what crypto is doing. I think it should be another spoke in the wheel. 10 to 20% of the economy can be crypto and blockchain powered in the next decade or so. I don't think we need to replace anything. It just should be another innovative approach, and the digitization of money, finance, content, assets, you name it. It's a natural progression. And I don't think that the early builders of electronic cash that Hal Finney and Nick Szabo and these guys in Silicon Valley were building and experimenting with from 1990 onwards, they were looking for an electronic peer-to-peer cash system. We weren't trying to, burn the ships and destroy anything. It's just another added innovative approach that money can be digital in different ways and means of exchanging value.
Well, it feels like the ship is burning itself nowadays. It's like, the dollar is like very inflationary, and so is the euro. So I'm kind of worried, but yeah.
I think everything goes in cycles, and I have seen us growing unabatedly the last 50 years in a hyper expansionary system of hyper globalization. And everything going in cycles. I think we're moving towards localization. I think, the post-Bretton Woods system, what it did is lifted the most amount of people ever in the history of the world out of poverty in the greatest mass scale movement that you've seen. And I quote Lawrence Summers of this. We were at the Bretton Woods 75 conference organized by the team at Bancor and everyone a couple summers ago. And he stated this. And now I think everyone has benefited from this hyper growth, and now local economies and local places are being able to build for themselves. And that's why the decentralized aspect of Bitcoin and crypto helps so much, that I think, because local communities, local movements can then build themselves and go from there. So I think we're moving towards localization, and this is just, a point on the graph and a blip in the radar.
I think the ship burning itself, what you were talking about, it was a little bit the banks, right?
Yeah, the banks and the value of the money, because, the dollar is going to zero.
I don't think it's going to zero. It's
not exactly zero, but it devalues by a lot.
Yeah, but that's why we have so many more assets under it that can still withstand.
The interesting thing always when we talk about DeFi is, as soon as you know about DeFi and you know how to do DeFi, it's very hard to stay with a bank. It's very hard to not at least take a small amount of your money and put it into DeFi protocols. And for me, it's always like, don't the banks see that? Or if they see that, why don't they do anything about it? For me, it's only basically two ways: banks going bankrupt or like down, or integrating DeFi with like a one-button solution. Push the button, go to Aave, or push a button, go to any other DeFi DeFi protocol with a renommee.
100%. And we're at the start of that cycle. These first 10 years of Bitcoin was getting us up to speed on this digital money and peer-to-peer cash system and different protocols, building the software on top of blockchain. This next 10 years is taking those financial products like DeFi, like NFTs in the world of content, and building that whole sector. So banks are happening. They're coming in. Institutionals are investing. Private equity funds are acquiring. And a lot of young Wall Streeters and Silicon Valley, Web 2.0 people are moving to DeFi and crypto and blockchain. It's happening en masse. I can name you 20 people that have moved from New York and Silicon Valley to Miami, away from Wall Street firms and Web 2.0 firms, to DeFi funds and NFT companies in the last 6 months.
Yeah. The interesting thing about DeFi funds and banks trying to get into DeFi and VC trying to get into DeFi is they are all from a centralized system trying to get a share of the piece of the cake of the decentralized system, which is basically not their system at all. How can that even work? A centralized system trying to get a piece of cake of the decentralized system, which is like fire and water.
Yeah.
Well, I think they're seeing like it as an alternative, and I think that even guys like Elon Musk, he also went into crypto and he talks about it, and he's like Fortune 500 traditional entrepreneur. I think it's becoming more and more popular. I just hope it will stay like in a positive way and will not be ultimately centralized, because I think there is a danger of we're all decentralized and we're all fine, but I think it could be very centralized at the end of the day. Like the government could come in and say, okay, now we're doing this centralized. Anything else is illegal. We're just doing it centralized. And
that's what China's doing. And they have CBDCs, and they made Bitcoin transfers and banking illegal. Now you can't ban Bitcoin. You can knock the miners offline, and the hash rate changed, and the West stepped in, and there's a lot more mining happening there, but you can't, ban the actual Bitcoin. However, yes, you can outlaw the banking regulations around it. You can outlaw wallet and private wallets and you name it. There will be an ongoing fight, but what they're doing with CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, is absolutely the antithesis of what Bitcoin as an open, decentralized, peer-to-peer cash system was meant to be. That's why there is backlash in the crypto community against it. That's not something that we want to see happening. Let's see what happens. They want more control over all transactions and their citizenry, because they have to. They have 1.3 billion people. It's a lot to manage. A lot to manage.
How do you guys see the future of crypto? Will it be like central bank? Like, will we have all just our wallet with a central bank, and the central bank decides whether we're supposed to have money or not? Or how do you see the future here?
I've been going to El Salvador for a long time. I was going on surf trips there in like 2014, 2015. And then I was with a good buddy of mine, Peter McCormick, who we were doing a series together, and we visited El Salvador again in early 2020, and then back again with Jack Mallers and Strike. And Peter was filming with them and Bukele, so really saw under the hood as to what they were constructing there. And that is an ideal framework of what did they do? They provided all the citizens a wallet, and you had access to Bitcoin. It was not, hey, you have to use it. It wasn't, hey, you're banned if you don't use it. And it wasn't, hey, we're going to route it through the central bank, and if you don't use it, there's a penalty. No, it was like, here's a wallet, here's some Bitcoin, go. And they made it legal tender among businesses, payment providers, banks, and they integrated it to the system. They didn't replace the system, nor did they, say this is the system. They integrated it, so it's part of the system, and that was ideal. And you'll see a lot more governments, I think, following suit.
If it was Ethereum, they could have made like a smart contract with a transactional tax that they could charge. Yeah. But okay, I don't want to give them bad ideas. Well, how do you see the future?
I think there will be a fight the next years about non-custodial wallets, where because I think states do not like anonymity, and I cannot see this system being replicated by the big states like China, US, and Europe, because I really think it doesn't replace the system, but it gives away a piece of the power of the system. Because money is power, and the one who produces the money has the power. And as soon as you say, okay, this is one kind of money, but we also have another kind of money that basically we don't have any power in, I think for many states, they will see this as a danger. So I think what we just see beginning in Europe with trying to forbid non-custodial wallets will be a fight that we will be able to see in the next years. And you're totally right. You cannot ban Bitcoin. But you can make it a lot more difficult to get the money into the system, like with KYC, and out, which is even more important when you do DeFi, because you get a lot of money out. But I think, like water, it will always find ways around that, and they will always try to put in a dam here and put in a dam here, but water always finds a way, because I think this in German there's a saying, the toothpaste is out of the tube, you cannot put it back in, or the ketchup is out of the bottle, you cannot put it back in. I think people have seen what they are able to do with crypto, and people will want to be able to continue to do that. So it will be a fight for the next years, but I think governments will not be able to win this fight, and sooner or later governments will see that they are governments by the people. And when people do want to have free money, and crypto is free money, they will stop fighting against it sooner or later. But there will be years of fighting, I think.
Big time. I don't think it's free money. I think there's assets to it and whatnot. But I think
not free money. It's money you can use freely. You know,
there you go.
They can always close your bank account. They cannot close your Bitcoin wallet.
I mean, the thing, a real life application why I think we need cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin or Ethereum is, for example, let's assume you're Russian. And let's assume you're on holidays, and at the same time the war in Ukraine starts, and then the West reacts with, okay, your bank accounts are all shut down. And I know of Russians who are stuck in Thailand or Mexico who don't have access anymore to their bank accounts. They don't have money anymore. Their credit cards don't work anymore, and they're stuck there. And just the ones who are lucky enough to have a Bitcoin wallet or an Ethereum wallet can still do transactions, and the other ones are just stuck.
I love how some U.S. government officials, are big on the anti-sanction policy and like, oh, the oligarchs are going to use Bitcoin to evade sanctions. You can track everything. B, there's not enough liquidity to be moving billions of dollars a day. See, if they are trying to move that's all trackable very easily via chain analysis and more that work openly and freely with government officials, full stop. The people, the regular citizenry is what we don't want affected. And that example is the best one that I've heard, where it's like everyday young Russians that look and act like us and whatnot and are educated and innovative and are traveling have those very hard roadblocks. And it's sad.
But by the way, this is what most people that are against crypto, and they do exist still, that they say, Bitcoin is a fraud and stuff like that. That's what they don't realize, that this is the value proposition for Bitcoin, for example. It's a store of value, but it's also money that nobody can stop you from using. They can close your bank accounts, as I said, but they cannot close your crypto wallet. And this is very, very, this is the reason why Bitcoin is as expensive as it is.
Yeah, and as I said, I'm not a maximalist.
Me neither.
And I believe that wholeheartedly, that again, it's a spoke in the wheel of the system. Money is belief. Money is value. Yeah. For thousands of years, we've evolved in a monetary system from shells in Egypt to gold across the world to paper dollars printed by central banks that are backed by military might and more, and belief. And if there's Bitcoin that's hard money asset digitally, that there's only 21 million ever issued, it's baked in the code. Code is law. Code is a great law because there's no politics. There's no right wing or left wing code. It's just the code. I would rather not play politics with money and let it be. And let it be a store of value. There you go. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. How do you see the future of Bitcoin? Like, do you think the value is going through the roof, or do you think it's gonna kind of hit its peak? Or
I'm also never
just a private assumption. Like this is not financial advice. I know.
Yeah. I never make crazy predictions. Bitcoin's $1 million. In 2017, people are like, "Oh, Bitcoin's going to be $1 million," and then again, post halving 2020. As we're inching 60 grand, Bitcoin's going to be 250 grand. I think you've got to have a much more resolute bias, and less is more. So again, every 4 years when the halving happens, the emissions get cut in half every day of Bitcoin. So it was an early advantage mover status they released X amount of Bitcoins at the beginning, and then they go down for your lay viewers. So every 4 years, yes, the value can go up incrementally. It'll go up. What you see in the charts is it goes up, crashes, stabilizes. The halving happens, goes up, crashes, stabilizes. The next one goes up, crashes, stabilizes. you can see that in different epochs every 4 years. So next cycle, I'd say maybe 100K, 2028, maybe 250. Then regulations might be really too scared of Bitcoin. Let's see. 2030s, you never know. Let's see what happens with natural disasters, climate crises, and more, because you may need it for real local politics, because you may not be able to travel. You may not be able to go to coastlines. Who knows? I see a very long perspective, but there's some interesting things happening in the world that the more localized economy is, the better it will be in some ways.
I think a lot of the value of Bitcoin will have to do with inflation. Bitcoin can easily be 250,000 at a point where a toothpaste is $50. And this can happen. Probably even will happen when I see inflation in the US, also in Europe. It's really, I bought a toothpaste yesterday.
Yeah, I remember your face.
For $8.83. Is that a lot for you? Or is it already normal?
Like him being from Miami, he's like, that was cheap.
No, not cheap. But yeah, do I look at the difference?
It's a normal price, right?
It was $6.99 last year, and maybe now if you go to like the CVS on the beach, sure, it's going to be there.
10 years ago.
Oh yeah, no.
How much was it? Or a bowl of ice cream. How much was a bowl of ice cream 10 years ago in the States?
Yeah, $2.99. Now it's $8.99. Yeah.
That's massive inflation. And that has a lot. The price of Bitcoin will have a lot to do with inflation, because people will hedge inflation with Bitcoin.
Well said.
Very well said. So what do you think about, let's say, the future of NFTs? How is that going to develop? Of course, there's way more use cases with all the utilities. For example, the funny thing is, like, we went to Miami NFT week, and they were talking a lot about real estate. How do you think that it will be applicable to real estate and real estate ownership? What's your take on that?
I think what we're focusing on at Ethernity is, again, that bigger disruption of content. So NFTs started with 2D images and JPEGs, then high-end 3D digital art collectibles, now metaverse and gaming integration. And then we see these original IPs and collections taking the place of some series or animated cartoons or music and movies. Music is very much being disrupted right now by NFTs and song royalties. Real estate, I'm not an expert in. I just know that contracts are coming. Smart contracts are coming. Crypto mortgages are happening. Look at Milo Credit and XBTO. They're issuing mortgages backed by crypto, happening in the here and now. NFTs can be at a contract layer of it. So the future's bright and diverse and very appealing.
You know what I say now? Everything is going to be an NFT. As I always say.
What you always say.
Sooner or later, everything.
And I think that'll take 10 years. I think.
10 to 20 years.
Yeah.
Not in the next 5, 7, 8 years. I don't think so. But 10, 15, 20 years, everything will be an NFT. Every receipt you get when you buy something, it's a customer incentivization program. Everything that you can produce, basically, because you can always add utility. You can always add value later on. This is such an important thing about NFTs, that you can create value for your customer. And if the customer has the impression that not enough value is created, you can always create more value by putting in more work, giving more effort into that, putting more marketing in it, or just by putting more utility in it. You can always enhance the value of an NFT, and so I think everything is going to be an NFT.
But
also your holidays, when your vacation, when you book a vacation, you will have an NFT. Also because it's going to be trackable in a good way. That's the most beautiful.
It's just like membership points and royalty and rewards and that sort of stuff.
But nowadays you get the membership points and you redeem them for something. But later on you will have these in your wallet, and people will see, because nowadays you Google someone and you say, okay, he does this and that, okay, he's a Twitter and all that. This is also a little bit, you can fake a lot of stuff there with your website and then say, yeah, he did this, he did that. But when people look into your wallet, they see what you spend your money on and who you are, what you spend your money on. I can say my hobby is riding a bicycle. Or although I never ride a bicycle For example, when I look into your wallet and Scott gives me the NFT with the last bicycle I bought, and I have 10 NFTs from the 10 last years, bicycle NFTs, everybody would see, okay, he buys a new bicycle every year. I think he is riding a bike.
Something cooler like motorcycle riding, building a motorcycle like I did, or kite surfing. Yeah, but 100%.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you can always see what people do, and you can relate to them. You can say, he went to the same concert, because a concert ticket definitely is going to be an NFT. He has the same kind of watch, whatever.
But seriously, would you let's assume you would pay everything with your credit card. Would you publicly post what you're spending money on?
You don't publicly post it, but you get an NFT for it. And you will have NFTs that are collectibles because they are designed by a great artist, for example, that people want to brag with. And you will see people being proud of having bought something because people are proud driving around their Lamborghini. They're social signaling all the time.
Yeah,
all the luxury brands are there for social signaling.
Yeah, but you said like everything will be an NFT. That means there will be a lot of NFTs, and there will be so for me, I'm already overwhelmed with the amounts of apps I have on my smartphone, and I have to declutter all the time. Won't that be a very complicated world?
No, because as soon as you look into your wallet and you see that there are NFTs that are special to you because they give you a special utility or give you a special bragging rights. I mean, you can have 300 NFTs, but you have a Bored Ape in there, and you always be, look at my Bored Ape. like that.
So that's then like apps on the smartphone, right?
How many apps on your smartphone do you use? Pareto, 80% of the time, 20% of the apps.
I think maybe 20 or so.
Yeah.
The 80-20 rule. Look, I don't like to confuse NFTs. I like to paint a big, broad picture. I think that's what I'm best at usually. People get distracted by NFTs in terms of it was these JPEGs, right? But what starts movement and what starts culture often throughout history, from, again, the Etruscan era to the Renaissance to now, art moves culture.
Yeah.
Right? So artists and art, because it was also simple. It was 2D JPEG images that you can put up and digitize and put on a blockchain. That's simple. Now where we're at is this next 10 year, and think of this as 10 years. Yeah. Remember, from credit cards in the 80s, 70s and 80s, joining the Diners Club, if I had told you, hey, you're going to pay for your dinner out with a piece of plastic and a strip on it, and then so that was in the 80s. And then in the 90s, you're going to go on this computer and you're going to learn about the world just on your computer and connect to everybody. And then you're going to set up these pages called social media profiles, and you're going to put all your information there, and you're going to talk to people around the world, and everyone's going to follow what you do. You would have said we were crazy. Each of those progressions, credit cards, online, then social media, took a 10-year build out. Yeah. Bitcoin took a 10-year build out. NFTs just started with art and culture, and we've got the next 10 years, which will be interesting and bring together tons of communities around different things. And things are going to be phased out, and some NFTs are going to be phased out. Some are going to take centralized forms. It's going to be a total new build out, just as social media disrupted, et cetera, et cetera.
Think about an app where your wallet is connected to your social media profile, for example,
or not.
We want to be Anno, okay? But think about, you have a special interest, some niche stuff. If you're collecting stamps from the 70s, crazy stuff, and you get an NFT for that because you're in the special collector club. And you mark the NFT and you say sort by, and it spits out everyone with his social media profile that is also in this club because he has this NFT. You make friends. And life is about communities. Our whole life is about, we have to stay in a community to stay alive. As soon as we are pushed out of our community, like in the Stone Age, we were dead. And this is still in us. So we are always looking for communities and for ways to communicate in our communities. And for example, having that and seeing, okay, I am a niche guy. I'm collecting something very seldom, and I will not even find someone in Miami. But I can see who has these NFTs, these like 500 NFTs, and you can sort by and give me all the social media profile, and can text them or write them. This is going to be community, and community has always been a driver for everything. I mean, social media is only about has been only about community. Today it's perhaps more about bragging online. But I think NFTs will pave the way for a lot of community stuff, and community is always strong.
Okay, that's fair. You mentioned applications of NFTs in the metaverse. How do you think the metaverse is going to look like? And what I, for example, don't understand is like we used to have metaverses like, online games and Second Life and things like that. What will be different in the future in your opinion?
Well, Second Life didn't have its own currency or a payment system or a land acquisition system that you could pay other users and participate in the tokenized, circular, gated economy, right? Things like Sandbox, Decentraland, Somnium, they have these economies of scale based around a tokenized economy that you can get access to, and then you can buy and sell digital goods inside of them as an economy of scale. So you have this organizing, galvanizing force bringing everybody there for experiences and interesting activations around communities, around collectors, and more. But again, there's this digital money that's happening and creating value. Look what Axie Infinity did, albeit they were hacked last week.
600 million.
Yeah, they empowered this whole subset of Philippine gamers, for example, to start. What Sandbox is now doing is having activation. So at Ethernity, we weren't dumb enough to build our own metaverse. And things like Decentraland and Sandbox have been building for now 5 years. This is the culmination of a lot of work by these brilliant teams. We're in touch with them and building with Sandbox and Decentraland and Somnium. They're incredible minds bringing together your digital self or your avatar or whatnot for activations and experiences. Now to start, it's very rudimentary still, but you can, for example, at Ethernity, we have wearables with some football and soccer stars, for example, and we're building out our activation, our world right now. You can go to the Ethernity world and then you can buy wearables and put them on your avatar. So if someone hasn't experienced the metaverse, I urge you just to go in and play with it, because you can set up your Sven avatar and you can customize it. You can have this jacket, you can put long hair on it, cool glasses. And then let's say if you want to go watch, a Messi activation, you can go buy a Messi NFT wearable jersey there and you can participate with Michael as well and go watch a game. A digital self of it. You don't have to be there and you don't have to leave your home, whatever the case may be. That's where it is now. Next 10 years, again, it'll be Ready Player One type stuff. And I think once we cross the divide of AR, I think augmented reality is the next big chasm to cross. Less VR because it's so cumbersome. But at Ethernity, with our app, we're going to be releasing a whole AR component. We tested one, again, with the Space Force collection. That's when things will get really interesting. And you'll have this like digitized real life vision in front of you with AR, with lenses that come out in the next couple of years. That'll get super interesting to me.
Do you really think that AR is going to be bigger than VR?
100%. Because 1,000%. Absolutely. Yeah.
AR putting a lens into your eye?
It can be the glasses, but clear glasses so that it's just then projected. And again, we're a few years away, but that's the real next level.
Because for me, I see completely differently. I see people being at home with their VR on, diving into in a whole new world, like they do in gaming, and people love gaming, so they know the concept already of emerging themselves into another world, and the emerging will be a lot more emerging with the VR. Yeah. But the AR, I'm not sure if people are comfortable or even happy running around, getting something projected onto their eyeballs in the real world, because that's not the place where they're used to that. At home, in front of the computer, gaming, they're used to that. And this is VR is enhancing that. But AR, I can't see the future bright enough of that. But for me, it's always a little bit strange.
I think it's a bit of a generational divide. And I think the kids who are using VR starting 5 years ago, that's definitely a native language in certain subjects. I think when you're projecting digital items, let's say NFTs, you can project, hey, here's my NFT, both on a wall and then in space if there's certain NFTs that are digitized, collectibles or a cool car or a motorcycle or otherwise. That's where things get super interesting. to me and us at Ethernity.
To me too, in a VR world, in an AR world, I'm always.
I have a take on that. So I would be much more comfortable with AR than VR because I get really like seasick or nauseated when I'm in any type of VR. That just doesn't work for me. I can't do that. I can't even play 3D shooter games. Can't do that because I play for 10 minutes and then I have to lay down for an hour. That just doesn't work. Yeah. And I've seen a lot of videos, like funny videos on Instagram, where people were wearing VR glasses and they were like just running against the wall and or destroying their TV because it's just not compatible. Because if you believe that you're in some kind of virtual world and it doesn't resemble your surroundings, then you're just going to hurt yourself or fall down the balcony or something like that.
I think VR will be more individual and AR will be more communal. It's just different sort of paths. And I think the VR is super immersive. The AR can just be almost in the background in a digital layer, so it's less immersive, I'd say.
Yeah, and it will be like there used to be this game. I don't know if it was. I don't remember the name, but people would gather and search for items and
Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go, yeah.
Pokemon Go.
And that was kind of AR, and it worked.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that works.
Sven's glasses are actually AR prototypes. Don't let me.
Yeah, exactly.
He's projecting
don't
NFTs on us. So
yeah.
You can see it. Look into the camera and just there you go. You can animate something.
Yeah. I'm really curious about what Facebook, former now Meta, they're placing this huge bet on the metaverse, and big companies are investing much money into that. Do you think that makes sense? Do you think that's why does it make sense?
Absolutely, because we see the trends. Again, art determines culture. The culture has moved towards embracing this evolution and this technology, and especially, again, monetizing these layers of content. We talk about Web3 being that combination of both crypto, blockchain, and NFTs, where it's not just companies profiting off of people's data, but people owning their data and their content, and everyone can transact on that. So Meta saw the writing on the wall, going back 18 months, and saw that, hey, we need to create a playground for people to be able to transact their content, their profiles, their social media assets as both NFTs, let's say, and as an economy of scale, because that's how they can then evolve with the times, because it's happening. It's not happening, it's happening.
I have my own definition of metaverse.
Everything.
I think as soon as we take our phones and we are on Twitter and social media, on Instagram, WhatsApp, even WhatsApp is already metaverse for me. As soon as we're diving into a screen, I think we are already in a part of the metaverse. I do not think the metaverse is only some virtual world that you enter and then you're in the metaverse. I think we are 3 to 5 hours at least every day already in the metaverse. And the frontiers of metaverse is coming near in the next 10 years again. And it's coming nearer and going more into really virtual worlds then. But and I think Facebook, they're smart people. They are totally right doing this huge bet, because as we are already in the metaverse and it's getting more and more minutes every day, I think we're on the way there, and the way will end or even begin in some virtual reality world. But metaverse is already happening, and that's they saw the sign, the writing on the wall, and they will monetize on that and big time.
Yes, I think so too. Would you guys, or will you guys, or have you invested in real estate in the metaverse like Sandbox or Decentraland? I know you did.
Yeah, at Ethernity, we are building out plots of land in Sandbox, in Decentraland, and eventually in Insomnia. Absolutely, 100%.
Cool.
Me too. I bought a villa in Sandbox.
I even bought 2, but then I'm still curious what they're gonna do.
Are we neighbors even? We are in the same parcel, I think. at least.
Yeah, I like this.
You can come over anytime. I have beer in the fridge.
Exclusive
in my virtual fridge.
Thank you. Yeah,
we can virtually have the beer.
I think virtual alcohol will not be that harmful, right? Okay. Guys, thank you so much for the conversation. Really enjoyed it. If someone would like to reach out to you or learn more about your service or your US people, how can they do that the best?
Yeah, on Instagram, you can find us at Ethernity. On Twitter, you can find us at Ethernity Chain, ETHERNITY. Ethernity. And then I'm at Adrian Baschuk, BASCHUK on Twitter, just on Twitter.
Thank you.
For me, Twitter is Warren himself, like Warren Buffett, and then Warren himself. You can find me there, mostly tweeting about NFTs. And for the rest of the world, still my German YouTube channel, Mike Hager. And my book is going to come out in English. It's called Rich with NFTs, and it's going to be on Amazon.
Thank you so much, guys. Enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and never miss an episode of Svencast again.